because nobody else has lived in my shoes, has walked my walk, has been through my experience. Nobody else knows what's going through my brain. I've had my own unique experience that has led me to the point that when I got a pizza and I got a pizza cutter, I'm going to do things this way because I'm going to make my life as easy as possible. And I'm going to do things that make as much sense as possible. But I can only do things that make sense to me. Now, everybody or the majority of people might agree that it's best to cut a pizza if you do it like across and across and across and across like they do with the delivery and, we see it in restaurants and stuff. So the majority of people might feel that that's the most common sense way to cut a pizza. Now, just because the majority of people see that as common sense, it doesn't mean that everybody sees it as common sense. It's just a collective kind of opinion. Some people have tried it and have found that, yes, that's the most efficient way. Some people have tried it and found, that doesn't work for me, so I cut it a different way. So making your way or your right or your common sense somebody else's is a very foolish thing to do. It's a very dangerous thing to do because that's where things get confusing because then you're assuming things for other people. So my husband says to me, why are you cutting the pizza that way? I go from turn around and slice his head off with the pizza cutter moment. I take a deep breath instead, let it out, process that information. What I know to be true, I know that he loves me. If he loves me, then he wouldn't do this. So maybe he just wants to know. So I went from just this really intense moment to I stopped and I turned and I looked at him and I said, "This is the way I want to cut it." And he looks at me and goes, "Okay." And I cut the pizza and everything's cool. No World War III, no bombs being dropped. All this stuff that my mind made up of defend yourself because he's out to get you just went away. And I simply answered his question. And he said, okay. And he went bebopping on through the room. He was just cutting through the room, saw what I was doing, was confused because from his perspective and his common sense, something about it was curious. And most likely when people question us like that, it's because if they were in your place, they wouldn't have done it that way. And since you're doing it different, maybe there's something they don't know because they have that same little inner critic that is looking to protect them. And if they see something different, then they're going to say, well, what is that? Maybe I'm inefficient. Maybe I'm not cutting pizza right. Maybe I've been doing it wrong all these years. Why is she cutting it that way? Is there something that I don't know? More likely, that's what's going through his head. And if I combat that with some other defensiveness, then he's going to be like, well, where did that come from? I was just asking about cutting the pizza. You know what I mean? And I've lost an opportunity to show something or to connect with somebody and to teach somebody something. And I've caused all this drama and chaos, for nothing. Now imagine how many times we've done that. How many times have people said something and you're like, what is wrong with them? Every time that I show up, they attack me. Have you ever had a conversation with that person? Have you ever really found out what was going on in their head? Chances are you haven't. I know that I haven't in my life. I can think back to so many instances that I must have really negatively impacted somebody's day, feeling totally justified and totally sound in what I did because of the way that I interpreted or misinterpreted somebody's thing, when I assumed that they must be thinking and feeling and being the same way that I am.